Good evening and welcome back to another episode of It's a Football Thing. You are joined tonight by the Big Four. This is the old school golden era of the Premier League, Big Four. We've got Robbie, RJ, myself. We've got a Liverpool fan here. We've got Adamo. You know Adamo. You might have seen him in a few places. He's a hard worker, this young man, unlike his team's midfield. But we are going to go through a fair few things tonight. We are going to look at a handful of teams so far. Have they overachieved? Have they underachieved? Or are they doing what's expected? And naturally, of course, we're going to cover a couple of guys who are on the thumbnail. Brendan Rodgers, David Moyes. Could we be seeing a couple more guys following Tommy T? We're going to have to wait and see. We'll obviously chat some other things as well, a little bit of FPL, find out what Adamo has been up to. But of course, you know this guy from the B Team podcast. His work with I Won It yesterday. Adamo, how are you, mate? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me on, boys. Good to get the right jersey on here. Some good Liverpool representation. But as you said, it's the old school Premier League. The only thing missing, can I say, that intro was amazing. The only thing missing was the old Premier League. You know, when the balls would light up and then they'd have the legends. I feel like that was the mood for this potty. You know, we got the four legends right here. It's good to be on, boys. Thanks for having me.
Just need the Barclays. I'm sponsored by Barclays.
Man, I should have got the Adidas Liverpool, not this Big W special. I'm a blind loyalty here buying this jersey because I'm not the biggest fan of it. But, you know, got to support the team. Suckers like me.
Don't worry, you're rocking it well. And speaking about someone who's always rocking it well, our European football correspondent, Mr. Robbie, how are you tonight, mate?
I'm good now, mate. It's been a bit of a depressing week again. Well, you know, mine and RJ's team didn't play Premier League anyway, and the Damos. But yeah, you guys got off to a nice win, so I'm sure you're very happy, and I'm sure you will discuss that. But yeah, look, I'm pumped for tonight, mate. The Big Four's here, and let's get cracking.
All right, RJ, over to you, boss.
Let's get cracking indeed. And yeah, it's crazy, you know, because I was saying to Rob before the show kicked off, it's almost like a stop-start season where you get some momentum, then some old longer-serving monarchy passes away, you know, your standard event, and then things like that just keep interfering with the season. But it's great to get a few new faces in the chat. So hello, Nicholas. Good to see you on board. And correct me if I'm wrong, tell us in the DMs, Mataz, SR, good to see a new person. But I'm not sure about the comment here, but it's always nice to have. And, of course, we've got a few of the regulars in the football capital. By the way, Adamo, you are in very for a special moment. We've just apparently crossed over the 700 subscriber mark. So
yeah, the boys.
A little mini target. So thank you very much for bringing that up. Absolutely. Your pool is massive, my man.
I wish. I'd like to think I'm a good luck charm.
Yeah. And Tom from the United Pubcast, go check out his content. Great content producers. And, of course, another fellow friendly face, Justin. Great to have you on board. But let's kick off for the games that did take place. And Scott, while the momentum is running hot over in the north side of London, talk to us. How do you feel? Because we all said before the game took place, Brentford are a team to not be taken lightly. They've done the business pretty comprehensively against United. They're a team, especially at their home ground. If you don't approach it right, you can really be stung. But 3-0 to the Gunners and sitting pretty on top. Talk me through your thoughts.
Yeah, mate. Look, I was pleasantly surprised with how dominant we were. I mean, it's a nice surprise to have. I did have some nerves in the back of my head going into this one. Obviously, seeing what they did do to Manchester United, and then knowing that we just lost to Manchester United as well. Yeah, there were some nerves, but they were put to ease pretty quickly because Brentford weren't in the game. They were not in the game at all. Ivan Toney was kept very quiet. We had a little bit of rotation. I'll have to say Granit Xhaka deserves some massive props and massive plaudits for how he's turned himself around and he's reinventing himself at the Arsenal as well. You're never going to have everyone love you, but mate, he's earning some respect. He's earning some respect back because he's been performing so well. Thomas Partey, when he's there, we're a different team. Gabby Jesus up front, top signing. And, of course, my man Saliba at the back. It's happy times. As I've been saying, I'm going to enjoy it while we're riding the highs because you never know in Premier League football. You can go from top of the table or locking in fourth place like one of us did last season and then bottling it. So enjoying the highs, mate. But I was shocked by how poor Brentford were, and they were poor because we made them look poor.
What was your favourite goal, just quickly, in that match?
Oh, had to be the Vieira one for sure.
What
You
was
reckon?
that?
Yeah,
The
that was
Vieira
good,
one?
bro. Yeah, that was
I don't
pretty
know.
good.
I like the Granit Xhaka clip ball over the top. That's a very difficult thing to place it on a dime for that bullet header from
No,
Jesus.
that
I don't know.
Cancelo and Haaland disagree with that comment.
I don't
Good
know.
point.
I don't know. Adamo, what do you think, man? We'll ask our special guest. Best
Goal of the
Arsenal
weekend. I tell you what, Son.
Yeah.
Son, take your pick.
Which
any
one?
of the three. To
Yeah,
be fair.
exactly.
Yeah, I know. What a
FIFA
way to
goals,
respond to
man.
getting dropped. Eh? What a player.
Hey, that they all look like FIFA goals, Adamo. I don't know how
I know.
good
You know
are
when
at
you just get the
FIFA, but-
perfect. You know when you get the like you hit the ball perfect, and it used to come up with a little tick. Like he knew straight away.
100%.
Not all of us
100%.
know that.
Quick fire question for you, gentlemen, and we'll go over to Spurs in just a second. Who had the better header goal, Saliba or Dyer? Who had the better header?
Both good, man. They're both.
Yeah.
I'll go with
They're
Jay.
both very good.
Yeah, that's it, man. A goal's a goal at the end of the day. If it counts and it goes to the back of the net,
Especially when it's a big boy getting up there. You don't care how it goes in. Just bundle it in.
Fair call. Controversial. I think Dyer's was more pure, but obviously the placement was better, I think, for Saliba. So, yeah, both equally top goals. But speaking of top goals, it pains us to say this, and I know Marty, he's a proud Spurs fan. We are not proud Spurs fans in this chat, but, geez, they were white hot against a very woeful Foxes, it must be said. Brendan Rodgers, and we will touch on him a bit after. He's someone that I've been, putting the red pen for a little while now. Just not sure how long he's hanging on, and his post-match comments aren't really filling me with much confidence that he's, really there for the long term. But Tottenham, just focusing on them for a moment, and we'll get your thoughts first on this, Adamo. Is Tottenham a team for you at the moment that are signalling that they are the real deal, or is this just one of those situations where they are artificially made to look better based on some of the failings of the opposition? Just your thoughts quickly on Spurs.
I think Conte's cooking something up, boys, to be honest with you. Year 2, he's a little bit like Jose Mourinho. He doesn't stay at clubs very long, and he tends to do his best work in year 2. He's got them playing like Conte sides play. And I was having this chat with one of my friends who's a Chelsea manager, Chelsea fan, and the game against Chelsea impressed me. Why? Because they played terrible, to be fair. Like, they should have got battered that game. Chelsea were all over them, and they managed to get a point. And I'm thinking, well, this is not the old Tottenham, because the old Tottenham, they were great. They'll dust teams. They'll be first about November, December. They'll play a big game and they'll just get swept aside. Whereas this Tottenham looks different. He's got them playing like Conte teams play, counter-attacking, ugly. He's going to fall out of favor with a couple players that were out of favor with previous managers are going to be in favor with him. He's a little bit like Jose Mourinho. So I think looking around, like look at my team, for example, Liverpool, we're nowhere near our best. Arsenal flying high. Do I think the North London derby is going to make it or break it for me? I'm going to say this one. I've earmarked this. Like all my Arsenal fans have been geeing up. I've circled this game. I said, if Arsenal win this, I'll start thinking of them as legit. But I just feel like Conte's cooking something up. I don't know if he's going to win the Premier League, but I definitely think he's picking up a trophy somewhere. And I think he's probably going to be that team that's going to pick up points off City, off Liverpool, off the big boys. The big boys won't want to play him.
Yeah, but
Adamo, yeah, exactly. Good. We don't need any of that negative Spurs energy in this room that they're going to win trophies, etc. Look, they've won a few games. Let's just accept that. But Robbie, how much of that do you agree with, Adamo? And just talk me through the impact of the hat-trick hero substitute performance from Son.
Yeah, well, look, I'm happy for Son. That's actually his first time off the sheet this year. So, and then what's he do? Goes in and scores a hat trick. So, I think it was a bit of a monkey off the shoulder for himself as well. He did come off the bench, which this is what I mean. I don't know if it was a bit of a, this is a big confidence booster for him. Not only was he dropped, but come on and scored a hat trick. So he's kind of said, hey, don't forget about me and stuff. And we've said it all along. And there's now 3 of us here that are big Conte fans. Obviously, RJ and myself Italian fans as well, and
we've all got a soft spot for him, I think.
That's it. We've all seen what he does. I'm obviously a big fan of Conte, and yeah, like we've said it from the off season, I think he's bought well. They needed depth in that squad. They've got depth. He loves his style. He's 3-4-3 with his wing backs. He's getting them playing. And like I said, he will win games, and that could be winning ugly 1-0s. And I told you, many games this year, especially that Wolves game, for instance, Wolves were all over him. Like I said, Chelsea were all over him. What happens? They get a win. They get a point. So when they do get the wheels in motion, and they can, like I said, if they can do a double against City like they did last year and take some points off the bit, they're in and around there. Everyone's talking about Arsenal at the moment. They're doing their job. Mate, they're just slowly doing their job quietly as well. And like I said, once the big games start hit, that's when we'll see if they're going to be title contenders as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. Go on, Scott.
Just on that derby, I know it killed me today. I looked at the fixtures. I'm like, God, we don't play till the 1st of October. That feels like forever away. I can't imagine how you boys are feeling. But that North London derby, and we'll put out some content closer to that, that's going to be, and this is exactly what we were saying before the North London derby at the end of last season. You're going to learn a lot about these two teams. And last time, we buckled, we capitulated, and it was just an embarrassing day for the club and for Arteta. So I'm hoping that when that comes,
But on like I said, that North London derby is massive. But for Arsenal in general, I think in that next month, you guys back up between Tottenham. I think a few weeks later you play Liverpool and then City. So it's not just if you get a big result in that North London derby. If you get a result and you continue, it's either going to make or break your season, I reckon, in October, mate. You guys are going to fall. You're going to stay like that elephant on top of the tree, I keep saying.
We've got a good question in. We'll keep Arsenal's tree falling for a moment. We've got a good question in from Tom, and we spoke about the Conte effect. And Adamo, you touched on his not so great longevity. But just a quick fire to yourself, Adamo. Does anyone expect Conte to be there this time next year? Thoughts, mate?
If I had to do probability, I'd say there's a 60% chance. And now you might think, gosh, you're crazy. You just said he might win a trophy. But he is the type of manager. He'll go on a run, and then something will happen. Like he won the title with Inter, and then he left that summer. He'll butt heads with Levy. Now Levy's been like it's been working so far, which has been good to see for Conte. Exactly, he's been giving him that, which Conte wants and he needs, which is good. But one thing I like about Conte as well, you guys were touching on it. He seems to, he's a bit of an old school Premier League manager in a sense that there's heroes and villains in the Prem. And I feel like we haven't had that since, I'm talking Wenger, Mourinho days. And I'm a Liverpool fan, but it brought tears of joy to my eye seeing him and Tuchel get in each other's face for 90 minutes. Like some people don't like it. I absolutely love that stuff. So for as long as Conte is at Tottenham, he'll be box office. Like, he is licking his lips at this Arsenal game. He'll be trying to get under Arteta's skin. He'll be carrying on like a pork chop. And some people don't like it, but I absolutely love it. So for me, Conte, I hope he stays as long as possible, but you just never know. Especially if they don't win a trophy. I don't know, rumblings could already start. But I'd love to see them pick up maybe a League Cup, FA Cup. It'd be huge for them. Look, let's be honest, they're down here, boys. Our clubs are up here, but
it's a good point. It's a good point. I think, just on Tottenham, just to wrap it up very quickly, what they have shown, what I've seen under Conte, particularly this season, is a lot more resilience and backbone to stay in the contest when things are not going their way. Because we know they're a quality football team when the momentum is in their direction. But when it's against the tide, for them to stay in the clash, I've got to give them credit and, pay credit where it's due. But look, let's hope it doesn't continue. Let's pivot over to my probable Premier League favourites for the season, Manchester City, and death, taxes, Haaland to score. That's what are three things guaranteed in life at the moment. And he's been in absolute scintillating form. Another clinical finish, but great start. Kevin De Bruyne again cutting in from both sides to just whip some venomous balls in, and very class finishes from Grealish and Foden. But Scott, I'll go to you first on this one. Arsenal, very lofty ambitions, if you will, to try to hold top spot. When you see the likes of City just chipping away, getting a job done. See, everybody's waxing lyrical about Arsenal winning 3-0 against Brentford. But City winning 3-0, Wolves are no easy beats themselves, especially at their home ground. To score 3 goals against a very stubborn Wolves, mate, that's a very impressive result. But nobody talks about it enough, I feel, because, it's just City. They're going to get the job done. And I tipped it wrong. But, Scott, your thoughts on the City result?
Look, I feel like I always keep it super short with City because you're right. They do what you expect them to do. You expect them to win. They've got the best manager in the world for me at the moment.
Yeah.
They've got probably the most informed front man in the world at the moment. And they've got just some maestros in that team. I expect them to be putting teams away. They're just a brilliant team. You run out of things to say. Like, how many compliments can you give this team? But this is the Premier League. And you can go from kings of the world to a really disappointing result against a gritty team. Like, we know that they have to play Spurs, and Spurs always get under their skin. I'm not too worried about United slapping City. I'm not putting money on it, that's for sure. But I like the confidence. So you never know in this league. Crazy things can happen.
Crazy things indeed. Robbie, you must be. Oh, well, we know you support Manchester City on the side. Just kidding, of course. But were you surprised by, I suppose, just how dominant they were, or was just business as usual for City for you?
Business as usual, mate. I predicted this game to the score. I picked 3-0 in the predictions. I got it right, and like I said, mate. As we like to say, the world oil machine, mate. I haven't rated Wolves this season, to be honest. I don't think they're as defensively sound as it has been in previous seasons. I thought it was just another day at the office for City. And look, for just a quick touch on FPL, like that many players out this week, I had to go in all hard on City. I've actually captained De Bruyne as well, so I actually got some green arrows from a pretty decent performance without a couple of players on the field. So yeah, that's how confident I was in City.
Adamo, are you an FPL connoisseur out of interest?
You know what? First year, I've played it every year, but I'm one of those does it for 2 weeks and then stops. But I joined the group with my mates and we did draft. And I got to say, I'm loving the draft. I'm loving the wheeling and dealing aspect of it. It's been good. I'm enjoying it, but I had a shocker. My first pick was Cristiano Ronaldo, and he's been sitting on the bench. So I took a couple L's early, and now I've been just sitting in the way because I was last. I've been getting first waiver priority, so I just went Isak, thank you, Paqueta, thank you. So I've been doing all right in the. I'm doing a bit of a Jose Mourinho. Don't worry about me till later. Like, I'll be there.
Okay.
Nice.
Speaking of Jose Mourinho, I'm not sure if any of you guys caught the quotes, but obviously they suffered a frustrating 1-0 loss against Atalanta. And some of his comments about, should have been a penalty. I've got to change my managerial tactics because, I need to have players start acting like clowns and diving because that's the only way to get a penalty these days in this particular league. But speaking of characters, geez, he never fails to disappoint, the special one. But I just thought, wow, what a classic manager he is. Did you guys happen to catch any of his comments?
I did. I saw him. He's always got an excuse, Jose. A few weeks before, they got smashed 4-0 by Udinese. To be fair, Udinese on fire. They just beat Inter Milan. And they said, what do you got to say about the performance? And he said, well, look, losing 4-0 is better than losing 4 games 1-0. So, yeah, okay.
That's a true point, but
it's a great point. So you can't really argue with it. Jose always flips the script somehow. But yeah, I agree. He's the best. It was weird seeing him, at Spurs. Although he'll say that was half a trophy, taking them to the League Cup. So
he's always got the right answer, doesn't he? But speaking of having the right answer, a person that I've obviously been championing from the ex-Chelsea days is my man, Super Frank, over at Everton. Got his first win for the season with the Toffees, who I thought have had a pretty reasonable start to the season. They've had 4 draws, unlucky not to get a couple more wins on the road, but a very well-deserved win against a very disappointing West Ham. I have to say, I didn't expect them, and we spoke about this last week, Adamo, just how disappointing West Ham have been at the moment. This leads us to a bit of a segue to the next conversation, but just wanted to give a shout out to Morpay for having a good performance, scored a nice winner for Everton, and yeah, it's nice to see where Everton are going to go from here on in. But just, I'm not sure if any of you guys caught the match. Robbie, did you happen to catch it, mate?
I just seen the highlights, man. Like I said, Neil Morpay as well. I'm sure happy for him. Debut goal. And what can I say? Take the bright out of Brighton.
Indeed.
Yeah,
looking at those. No, go on, Adamo. You're good, man.
You want to see those ex-players that we grew up idolizing do well. Like even Super Frank, like it's sad. See, like I think he was a victim of his own success at Chelsea. Like he did so well with nothing that when he got something, a little bit like David Moyes now at West Ham. He didn't work for him there. Obviously, Chelsea went on to win the Champions League, which kind of made him look even worse. And then he goes up to Everton. Big expectations there. You don't want to see him get sacked. And same as Stevie G. Like he's under a lot of pressure as well. I think I think he's probably like, even more. I love him. He's the reason I go for Liverpool, but I think he's slipping under the radar a bit. How poorly they're doing with some of the signings that they've been able to whip out recently. Like we're talking about
Don't
Diego
use
Carlos.
Steven Gerrard and slipping in the same sentence on this channel, mate. There's too
No,
many
I'm
Manchester
leaving
United
myself
fans
open
in
there.
the chat. I'm telling you.
I'm leaving myself open to banter there, but yeah, I think it's good to see them string a couple wins together.
Looking at both those teams, like West Ham for me, when we talk about teams that are underachieving, they're right up there. Like they're sitting in the relegation zone. They're underachieving massively, and I would not be shocked if Moyes is sacked this season because they see themselves as being in that kind of European football area. I don't think Champions League is the expectation, but certainly that Conference Europa is something they'd want to fight for. Still plenty of time, but West Ham for me, massively underachieving. Everton doing just about what I expected. I'd say they're kind of where I expected them to be with 7 points from 7 games. I don't think there's much special with them. So that's my view on those two.
Yeah, 13th at the moment, obviously just narrowly avoided the chop. So it has been an improvement compared to what they were under Benitez for large parts of the season, but it's only early days, of course. But segueing into the next component of the show. So what I'm going to do, Adamo, is we're going to throw a team out there and we're going to say, have they been overperforming, underperforming, or about on the money of where you expected to be at this stage in the season?
Oh, I love this. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. So the first cab off the rank, we'll go with your boys, Liverpool. Now, we'll have different views on here, but
I don't think we will.
But Scott, let's go for you first, mate, because I know what you're going to say.
I think we're all going to say the same thing, aren't we? Robbie and I tipped them to win the league this season. We thought they were going to really kick on, but no, massively underachieving. And I'm not saying that Klopp would be in any danger at all. I don't think he is. But, man, they'd be very concerned with where they are. They need to get Mo Salah firing, and they need to do it quick. Underachieving for me.
Fair call. Robbie?
No Mane, no party, mate. I said he was going to be a big loss, and he has been a massive loss for them. And it just looks like that 70 bug as well with Klopp. I know it's a bit of a coincidence, but that midfield is the problem for me. You can't have Henderson and Milner in that midfield up against some of the big boys like your Cities, etc. like that. So for me, when they fix up their midfield and Trent Alexander-Arnold can start defending properly, then I think they might start moving up the table again because we've all seen how suspect he has been in that. He's great going forward, but he's been caught too many times this season not doing his job, which is to defend.
Indeed. Adamo, what do you think? I think Bocce is having a bit of a laugh here. But
Bocce loves it. It's definitely underachieving. I think, look, there's so many things you could say. No Mane, no party. Of course, he's been a big loss. But for me, injuries, of course, the Queen's untimely passing was probably a blessing for Liverpool. Get some boys more fit. But what's been so disappointing is the big boys. You think Liverpool Football Club, you think Mo Salah, you think Virgil van Dijk, you think Trent Alexander-Arnold, you think Andy Robinson. They have been, to say they've been poor is putting it kindly. They've been absolutely rubbish compared to the standards that they've set. So that's really the disappointing thing because, look, we've had injuries. A couple of years ago we had injuries, but certain players still stepped up. Whereas these players, like Mo Salah, tactically, I don't know. Like when I watch Liverpool, they're known for that fluid front three where you can get Salah starting on the right or the left, but then he'll come in the middle. Maybe it's because of Darwin who's come in. He's been told to just hug that touchline, but he's been invisible. Verge has been the worst I've seen him play in a Liverpool shirt. This little patch here. That's been the most concerning part for me because players will come back. Thiago will come back. That midfield will be fine. You saw what he did against Ajax. He's sending Dusan Tadic for chips. He's a great player, and we've missed him. There's a lack of depth. The young boys are doing well. But, yeah, for me, the worrying one has just been how poor our superstars are, and that's what they are. Then we're not talking about just good players. We're talking about some of the biggest and best players in the world, and they've been really, really poor.
Yeah, their decline really saddens us on this show. I can't even say that with a straight face. But I need to get this as an interesting one, and I know Borchia brought it up before. Nouveau Riche, new money, Newcastle. straight down the line, 10th position, 1 win, 5 draws, 1 loss. Are they overachieving, underachieving, or are they just about where expected? Adamo, we'll kick back to you first for this one.
Oh, look, it's going to be a work in progress. So I'm going to just say just right to sit on the fence here. That loss to Liverpool, you talk to any Newcastle fans, and they're just as rowdy and as annoying as Man United.
Was that
fans,
the 85
unlike
extra
Robbie.
minutes they had in injury
Yeah,
time?
they'll like to let you know that there was no time wasting that happened there, and the game should have been called earlier. Couple nice signings. Isak was a great signing. He looks like he's going to be a great player. I think they're not losing. That's the big thing. Convert a couple of those draws to win. They're sitting just about where I'd want them to. Any lower, and I'd be a little bit worried. But this team's a work in progress. The second they got all this money, fans are expecting these Saudis to ring up Neymar and say, "Hey, man, you're coming to the toon." Let's be honest. These superstar players probably don't even know where Newcastle is. So they've got to start winning, getting towards the top of the table. You get a player like an Isak, who's a great player, but he's still a little bit of a project. Then you get European football, and then boom, sky's the limit.
Apologies to all our Newcastle subscribers. We just lost 100 of them. Adamo just joking. Of course, Newcastle has massive pull. They're basically Real Madrid. They've got white in their jersey. But Rob, what do you think about that?
Santiago Nunez played there. One of the greatest players ever.
Mate.
Top player.
I think as expected for me. I said predicted them to be mid-table or maybe around that 9th this year. I just think, like I said, it's not going to be a click your fingers and they're going to be in the European spot, even though, a Europa Conference League would be an amazing achievement for them. Like Adam said, I think they've bought well. They've got a really solid defense under Eddie Howe. But look, they were 3-1 up against City and then they dropped that. That could have been a win as well. So they're playing good football. I think I wouldn't say under or over. I would say just right at the moment. Like I said, I didn't realize that they had that many draws as well. So I think they're doing well.
Scott?
Look, for me, this is a bit of a role reversal. It's normally Rob putting the boot into Newcastle, me sticking up for him, but I would actually say underachieving slightly. I mean, you look at they've had a whole bunch of draws. These are some of the teams they've drawn with: Bournemouth, Palace, Wolves, Brighton, obviously Man City they drew, if that was a good one. But some of those teams like Bournemouth, Palace, Wolves, if they're going to take that next step, you actually have to start beating some of those teams. And the way they ended last season, I did expect a little bit more from them. I'm not saying I expected them to have, 7 wins from 7, but that three or 4 maybe you'd expect, because they just have really let some winnable games go. And I think that's the next step for them.
You swayed me, Borgie. I think you swayed me over. When you hear those teams, I agree with you. I think that's possibly downgrading to a bit of an underachieving. And
yeah,
sorry,
I think at this stage of the season, you're right. Based on the quality of opposition, they should be converting some of these draws into more wins. So I dare say they'll correct it. But as at the moment, I'd say they're underachieving as well. Now, this one is going to be controversial because we know there's a lot of supporters in this particular community that follow this team, and there's going to be a lot of noise here. Manchester United, 5th spot, 1-4, lost 2. Now, I have to say that we've been very critical, all of us, even Rob as a proud Red Devil, been very critical about United over the last couple seasons, their transfer spending, their lack of strategy, the overall club seems to be in a little bit of a hot mess. But on the field, as Bocce says in the chat, he believes 21 is coming. But Robbie, we'll go to you first as the proud United fan here. United overachieving under or down the middle?
I'm going to have to go down the middle. I don't think it could be the other way from that, to be honest. Look, if you look at results on paper, I did not expect to beat Liverpool. Arsenal, yes, at home, but Liverpool I didn't expect. I think we did get them at a good time. I didn't expect, obviously, to lose our opening 2 games especially at Old Trafford. We lost Brighton, and then we copped that flogging 4-0 away to Brentford. That was a big shock. But look, again, as I've said through the whole off-season, Ten Hag's come in. He's someone I actually trust, and I really think he will turn this club around, and it's going to take time. We're only a month or 6 weeks into this season, and for where we're at the moment, where we started, bottom of the table after 2 weeks, 6 goals in the negative, and we're back up. We went on we fix up our defense pretty quick. He's got Maguire on the bench. He's bought players that he knows and trusts. And, we've had the string. We were desperate to get those wins. Obviously, the Liverpool one was a big high. And then, like some of them were ugly wins. We're not playing Ten Hag football yet. There's little glimpses of it during the game. But I don't care if we have to win ugly at the moment. We need points, and we need to at the moment, if you were to say at the start of the season, we'd be on top of Liverpool and Chelsea, for instance, two direct rivals for top four, I'd say that we're achieving something, especially with such a short turnaround under Ten Hag. So for me, I'm going to be balanced. I'm going to go down the middle because I think we have a lot more to come, but I'm happy where we are at this international break.
Scott?
Look, I'm going to quickfire this one because I think Robbie summed it up pretty well. As expected, it was always going to take time. I expected them to be hovering around these places, and they're doing exactly what I thought they'd do. I wasn't expecting the spanking that we got, but besides that, on par.
On par? Adamo, what do you think, mate?
You're going to get a clean sweep. I'm going to say on par. At the start, man, it looked like it was going to be Eric 10 weeks, but he turned it around and big win against us. Gosh, I haven't been that filthy after waking up for a football game all day. I was in a stinking mood after that one. But You know what else? He's gonna bring in, as Robbie summed it up perfectly. It's gonna take time. He's gonna bring in his philosophy, his style of football. What I do respect is that he's had to make a couple tough decisions, and one of them, as you said, is parking Harry Maguire on the bench. Another one, probably the toughest one, is real. Yeah, exactly right. They're playing their best football without Ronnie, and Ronnie will have a period of games where he'll play and he'll score goals. But at the moment, you guys are playing your best football with Ronnie on the bench and Rashford looking good. So yeah, I'd say just where you expect them to be, considering the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, I reckon, look, I could say on par, but I honestly do think they're overachieving based on the whole new manager situation and where they're at. And yeah, they have strung up a few positive performances. I think the momentum is, upward arrow, so positive trending. But I can see why you all think on par. I just think they're slightly overperforming, but we'll have to see. Speaking of a team, in my humble opinion, that's definitely not overperforming is my sad Blues. They've been very, in my opinion, underperforming. We've had some chaos with the new ownership, etc., and the whole Tuchel going for the wizard in waiting, Graham Potter. But some of these performances, bar the Tottenham game, have been very underwhelming. I've seen a lot of passiveness in our play. We've been quite uncharacteristically poor defensively, a lot of individual mistakes. I jokingly said the other day on a stream, it's almost as if we have a secret competition to see how ludicrous of a goal we can concede. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm not an alarmist. I'm actually quite optimistic at the best of times. But if I'm calling it how it is at the moment, we've definitely been underachieving, but it's not panic stations just yet. I'll throw back to you, Adamo, on this. Chelsea in the mud, or what do you think at the moment?
A little bit too early to say in the mud, but definitely underachieving. Weird little spot with this new ownership. I think this has made us realize just how good of an owner Roman Abramovich was, even though, towards the end of it, who knows how involved he was banned from the country, etc. But it just seems like some of Chelsea's signings as well have been, to put this really bluntly, have been real American owner signings. Like Cucurella, great player. Is he a Chelsea? Like, did you guys really need him? Like, he seems like he would have fit perfectly in at City. And then you guys splash the cash. Like Raheem Sterling, I think, will be an okay signing. Wesley Fofana, it's a lot of money we're talking about. Just, I don't know. Yeah, very uncharacteristic, very un-Chelsea-like. You guys have been, I've always said over the past, since, I've started watching football, you guys have been the trophy-winning Atletico Madrid. You're a counter-attacking team. You guys have always known what you are, but it's just been very uncharacteristic. And we'll find out now. I think this will really tell us, how bad you guys, if you guys are in the mud or if it was just an early season slump. Remember, Conte didn't start too well and he turned it around. So let's see what Potter can do.
Yeah,
fair call. Slightly disagree with this comment. Yeah, fair call.
It's just underachieving, mate. It's a little bit of calamity. And again, speaking of that preview, I did call this for Chelsea and I called it. I knew you guys have a lot of work to do, man.
Lucky there's 31 games left.
Plenty of time.
You stay optimistic, brother.
I'm not worried at all. I'm not worried. Yeah. That's it.
Not one bit. Not a little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
I think right now you guys are underachieving. I think no one saw the Tommy Tuchel exit this early on. Well, I didn't anyway. And look, I think this is actually going to be. I'm interested to see how the new magician, Mr. Potter, takes this one forward because we've been talking this guy up since we started the podcast the last year and a half, and I've got a lot of respect for him what he done at Brighton, but this is a massive step now, and it's whether he's going to take off or it's going to be very Moyes like for when he was at Everton, how he done such a great level with a club like Everton, then he jumped to obviously us, and then he failed miserably. So I'm interested to see if he takes that step or if it's going to be something in that Moyes boat, but it's very early days, and I like I said, I still think that Chelsea, even when they're bad, they still make top 4. They scrape in there somehow all the time. So they always pull it out of the bag, mate. If it's ugly, if it's not ugly, it's early days for everyone, mate. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, well, you know what? The competition's increasing. That's what gives me a little bit of nervousness, that the expectations, we're used to winning. That's what we are. We're spoiled. We're used to trophies. We don't care how you get them. Fire managers, get interim managers, whatever. Just win and get us a trophy and move on. We don't care how you do it. Just do it. They have taken a long-term view with the 5-year contract. Whether or not they honor it's a different thing, but they have invested. They've made decisions that suggest that they've got the long-term view in mind. Ultimately, the proof's in the pudding based on when we get those bumpy waters. Will they stick true to that? Or will they react just like everybody else seemingly does? But we'll see. Now, the last team I want to specifically call out, then I'll open it up to the floor if you want to shout out any other teams that you want to throw into the mix. But Tottenham. So they are third at the moment. And we all know the Conte effect. It's going well. But based on who they've signed, they have splashed the cash reasonably well. And with who they've got at the helm and the quality attackers they've got, do you think they are overachieving at the moment, or are they just about where you think they would be? Robbie, we'll go to you first.
Yeah, I'm going to go again straight down the middle. I predicted them third this year. I think that they finished on a high last season. Only with half a season Conte came in. Obviously, he got backed from Levy, so I really think, and they've kept Kane, which is a big plus. For me, they didn't need quality, they needed quantity. That was their issue. Most clubs always want quality, not quantity. So they needed depth. That's why people like Richarlison, yes, big money came in, but they needed someone that was going to play second fiddle to Kane. And in the last few weeks, he's kept Song out of that team, and he's actually delivered some big goals for them. Their midfield, the Juve boys you bring in last year, massive. Basuma, I thought, was actually going to have a bit more work to do. He's, again, just another in-depth player that come off the bench. They've got Champions League now, so that's another competition for it. But for me, I said they're not playing great football, but they're getting the results. So for me, I'm top 4 at the moment. I think they're going to want to aim for, like I said, possibly a good cup run, and top 4, obviously, Champions League to continue that. Down the middle, they're where they should be for me.
Fair call, Scott. What do you see this one as?
Completely as expected, man. They've invested well. They've got a top tier manager. I'm nervous about Spurs. I don't think it's going to be the Premier League, but I feel like there could be a trophy this season, and then that just ruins a whole bunch of my fun. So I would say they're doing exactly what I've expected of Spurs so far this year.
Yeah, Adamo, it's getting scary, isn't it? We're seeing teams like Arsenal and Tottenham doing so well, and we're not doing well. And there's a lot of bad things happening on in the world at the moment, and this is just a microcosm of all that bad stuff happening. But how do you see it playing out for Tottenham at the moment?
Yeah, I said it before, but I think where I expected them to be. They've dipped into the transfer market. They've got a great manager. They're a top 4 side. Like, they're a lock, in my opinion. I had us, City, and Tottenham as a lock for the top 4. So it's where I expect them to be. And as you boys said, this team's deep enough. I think they're good enough for a cup run. I think they can. Who's to say they can't challenge? I wouldn't be surprised if Tottenham's top at Christmas or something crazy like that. It's a weird year this year. We got a World Cup in the middle. Who knows? Kevin De Bruyne goes off with Belgium.
We're just packing up all of that negative hoodoo and throwing it out the window. Tottenham.
Something crazy happens, boys. There's a couple injuries at the World Cup. Who knows?
Yeah, I agree.
This is a once in a lifetime year of we're going to have a World Cup bang smack in the middle. It's never going to happen again. So who knows? And in that keeping in a once in a lifetime thing, maybe Conte wins a title with Tottenham.
I don't want to
I hate to say it, Scott. I'm sorry.
I'm
I
feeling
could see it
not-
happening.
Oh,
You know what?
geez.
There's another Liverpool fan from your kind of posse over there at Owen It Yesterday who comes on here, Kat.
Yeah.
Mate, she's at the moment my favourite of the two of you because
Yeah,
she's
I'm
always
falling
got
down the pecking
Arsenal's
order.
back. She's always got Arsenal's back, and you're throwing all this nonsense out about Spurs top of
Yeah,
Christmas.
you know
Come
what?
on, man.
Well, lovely Spurs chat. We never learn. Yeah, very true. It's honestly Tom's spot on.
Well, you know what? I think having listened to
It's
you all,
scary.
you make
It
a
is
good
scary.
argument. The quantity's there, the quality's there, the manager who knows how to get results done in a short space of time is there. It is scary because, like you said, to throw into the World Cup mix, I don't know, man. It's because I don't think. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they're going to do a Leicester, so to speak.
No, I don't
You
think
never
so either,
know.
but who
You never
knows?
know. But top three at this stage, we all called it. They are a team that's not surprising if they do finish there. It's surprising historically because they've been pretty woeful, but now they look like a serious team that you don't want to muck around with. That attack is lethal. Some of those defenders they've brought in, they've got some real glue in that midfield and strengthened a lot. It's really hard to pick apart too many weaknesses that they've got. So, yeah, I'd say that they are probably just about right where we'd expected them to be. But no, any particular shout-outs you guys had? Because the one I did while you ponder on it, Fulham. Fulham obviously massively overperforming. That should be a given for all of us here. But geez, I expected them to be on the tail end of the league. But gee, they've reinforced. They came the first game against Liverpool, and they
took the
really should
piss.
have won that. They absolutely did. They were all over you guys, and that made me take notice and say, "Wow, that's a brave team. They're going to do some good things this season." What did you guys think of them?
Oh, Quickfire, 100% overachieving, and Mitrovic as well, because we've seen him a couple of seasons ago. He came up after smashing the championship, came into the Premier League, done nothing. That was a big question mark over his head this year, and he's come back and has entered the all the people questioning him. And I think they've done good, and I think they've bought really well because last time they bought, spent 100 and something million and went straight back down because they just thought kind of like what Forest have done this year. They spent so much money on just players that have had a bit of. You've had some Premier League experience. You've had some Premier League experience, but it's just there's no team there. So I think, like I said, they'll go down. And I've had Fulham to stay up there in my since preseason predictions. For me, Brighton's another one overachieving as well. With Potter at the helm, who knows what's going to happen now?
Good shout, Scott.
Look, just quickly a word on Leicester from me. Massively underachieving, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch. I almost feel like it was negligent, the lack of investment in that squad, because everyone could see they were on the decline. And this had not really ever happened before. They normally back their managers, but makes you wonder if they've got faith in Brendan Rodgers, who I think, mate, is standing right on the precipice of being sacked.
I think he wants to be sacked. The way he's speaking,
yeah,
I think he
he's
wants to
next.
be flicked down. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, but if they sack him, who they bring in? Because that does just no one would want to go near that job right now. Their
Big
players
Ange.
want to all exit.
Oh, I'd love that.
That's a downgrade, man, going to Leicester from Celtic. He's in the Champions League at the moment.
Tough
For me,
decision.
he's whispered to before, obviously today, that they announced with the Brighton, and people like Schwarzer were saying that that's still a downgrade going to Brighton from Celtic. So there's no way he'd be going near Leicester.
That's an interesting one, Adamo.
That's an interesting one. I love that because I actually think Brendan Rodgers and Ange are quite similar in a sense that they both play a beautiful attacking brand of football. And I've always thought with Rodgers, like, he's probably stayed at Leicester 2 years too long. Remember they won the FA Cup. They bottled fourth a couple times, but I thought, I think everyone thought it as well. That's the time he leaves and goes to a big club. And the football he plays, Brendan Rodgers, same as Ange Postecoglou, and it might sound ridiculous, they could coach anywhere. They play beautiful football. If they were Spanish or Brazilian, they would get offers at all the biggest clubs in the world, particularly Ange. They play great football, but for Rodgers now, he's in a sinking ship. And as you said, RJ, I think he wants to get sacked. It's just they're disappointing, very disappointing. And I'm worried because they're coming last. There's no guarantee that they're going to turn it around either. But mine, it's a player, actually. Erling Haaland. We all knew how good he was. We all knew it. But he just said, shame on all you guys, myself included, for thinking that there was going to be any adaptation period to the Premier League. Like, he's everything. He, in my opinion, is the closest thing we have to R9, Big Ronaldo, in terms of before his injuries, before his ACL injuries. Physically, he's just a freak. He's unstoppable. And I think the only thing that could stop Erling Haaland is injuries. If he was to get a devastating, I'm going to knock on wood for him, or something like that, that would be the only thing that could stop him. He's a freak. And fancy having Kevin De Bruyne in your team. Every time he looks up, he just plays that perfect pass, and he's got Haaland just running it down.
It's like that funny meme. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it. It's like with the main actor from the show Peep Show, and he turns around and it's like, are we the Farmers League now? It's like, this guy here is absolutely taking the mick out of us now, because like I said to the boys, I'm so glad that the Chelsea scouts went for Lukaku instead of Haaland. It worked out very well. Very smart business. So,
he's the best goal scorer I've seen in the league since a certain Thierry Henry. For me, obviously very different players. Thierry Henry, I think, the more skilled of the two, but Haaland is just an absolute specimen. I'm not saying that I think he's as good or better than Henry. This is 7 games into the Premier League. We've got to see how he goes, and if he can build a bit of a dynasty for himself at City. Like, if he can keep this form up for a good 3, 4, 5 seasons, he could arguably be talked about as the best Premier League player of all time, if he can keep these current standards up for a good 5 seasons or so. But he's doing very, very well.
I think it comes down to his ambition as well, because he's so young. It might be one of those situations where, I dare say, the generations are slightly different. I know this is generalizing, but the whole loyalty factor versus individual branding, I think, is taking on a new precedence. And you look at someone like a Haaland, he's so young. If he comes here, breaks the record, wins City's first Champions League, becomes the best, I wonder just how long will he be satisfied with that? Will he want to stick around for the long term to be arguably in that best in the Premier League ever? Or would he go jumping ship if Real Madrid come knocking in a couple of seasons, or PSG offer him a share of the club, etc.? So I wonder, I think what's stopping him is his own ambition, to be honest, to see what he truly desires for the long term. But fascinating player. Great shout, Adamo. Any of you guys have a particular player you want to shout out?
No, Mitrovic would have been it for me. Robbie hammered that one.
Can't wait to see him at the World Cup.
Yes. Yeah,
that Serbia team is going to be very good.
It is a very good team. But
man.
Quick one, obviously biased me. I'm going to shout out Eriksen for me, because I think he's been our player of the season in this short period of time. This guy, was near death in the Euros last year. Came back, had a pretty good season at Brentford. We picked him up on a free, and he's been the heart of our midfield, been the heart of our team. And I think, I think he's had 4 man of the match performances this season alone. For free, I think he's been one of our best players, and I think he's definitely overachieving. I thought he was going to be someone as well with the heart condition that was going to play 60 minutes and get the hook. This guy has played every game 90+ minutes, so I think he's
good shouts. Yeah, well, I thought, obviously being a bit biased here, and I probably still would maintain his position had he not taken over the helm. But again, special shout out to Mr. Potter with the work he'd done at Brighton. Not at Chelsea, he's done nothing yet. But to continue to get Brighton firing despite losing their 2 best players, mate, Basuma and Cucurella, they are such important clogs in that Brighton team, yet they're still firing. And now, arguably, he's taken the whole coaching team out with him, but they've still got a good football structure in place. So whatever they've done there, full credit to them. And just a player, it pains me to say this because he plays for a rival, but Gabriel Jesus hit the ground running, mate. He's done a fantastic job so far. He was a player that we were courting for a while and went a different direction. But, great business there that Arsenal done, I think. And long may it don't continue, hopefully. So we'll see. But, I just want to now pivot across to the fun segment of what we call the Quickfires here, Adamo. So essentially, it's like we've been doing Quickfire. We throw a question at you. Not too much explanation. In fact, it's a straightforward answer. Robbie is our resident organised panel member. So, Robbie, we'll go with you first with your question, then we'll go around the table.
All right, just a couple tonight only, boys. This one here. Are you a fan of Avatar, and will you watch the sequel coming out on Thursday?
Scott shaking his head.
No, I've never watched it. No.
It's because they're not red, you see, Rob. They're blue, so he doesn't like them.
It's just like the evil Smurfs, mate. No chance.
Adamo, what do you think, mate?
Yeah, no, you know what? I have watched it, and unpopular opinion, I'm just not the biggest fan. Like the CGI and stuff was amazing, but yeah, I don't know. It's one of those movies I watched, and I was like, nah, I'll never watch it again.
You're like
But
Shania
I know I'm the
Twain.
minority
That don't
in this
impress me much with Avatar.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I don't
wasn't the
know.
biggest fan.
Yeah, you know what? I'll go the other side. I did enjoy it. I did like the mystique behind it, the storyline about what it represented, the whole nature versus man-made takeover. But yeah, I thought it was good, and I probably will watch it. Probably take the little fella. He'll probably enjoy it more than I will, to be fair.
Controversial, but I think movies suck nowadays, to be completely honest. I can count on one hand the amount of really good movies
Sin bin, mate. Sin bin.
that I think have come out in the last couple of years. I think movies have gone down the drain, to be honest. It's all about podcasts now, like the B Team, Born Offside, of course, us boys.
You know what, Scotty? I'm gonna back you. I'm gonna say since COVID, apart from Top Gun, I haven't gone to the movies once and left there and gone, wow, that was amazing.
Top Gun was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Top
so
Gun
many
was
people
awesome.
have talked up Top Gun, man, because it was just, you know what? It was just a simple, good movie. It didn't need try to be too clever. It didn't try and be too political. It was just a good, bloody entertaining movie, man. I
It
know I'm
was just
sounding like an old man, but
Yeah. It was just a great
good
sequel to
quick
Top
fire
Gun.
discussion.
Yeah, simple as
Yeah,
that.
hard. Last one's only for you, Adamo, because we might
Okay,
not
let's
see you from now to the World Cup. Who's winning the
Okay.
World Cup? This is only for you. I want to see who you think will win the World Cup.
Socceroos.
I'm gonna go. Well, look, I will say Socceroos are making it out of the group, but I'm gonna go Brazil.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go Brazil, and I'm gonna tell you why. My only thing with Brazil, I thought to myself, they don't have a 9. Gabby Jesus, in and out of this City team, can't lead the line at a World Cup. The form he's in, Neymar's back in form. They've got wingers, got Vinicius, Rafinha, Anthony. They've got wingers for days. Great midfield. I think they've been the sleeping giants a little bit at big tournaments, and I think this is the one. I think Brazil make it 6. They're my pick. And yes, Socceroos, Scott, you're spot on. I'm making it out of the group.
Just quickly,
Right,
Jesus
so-
didn't even get a call up for Brazil. I'm shocked.
They know, man. He's locked in. They don't need to test him out. He'll be in that
Seriously,
on that
how-
plane.
I can't understand that. He's in the hottest form. How does he not?
I think it's
get
just a chance to
call
look
up?
at other players, Robbie, just to suss some other guys out.
Jeez, this is their last window before the World Cup. It's pretty sus, in my opinion.
He
not to
does have
call
some
up.
weird favorites, the Brazil coach. Like he loves Phil
Mm.
Coutinho. He does
Yep.
tend to get it. Like he loves Fred. He does get a bit cute sometimes with his team, but it's a no-brainer. Gabby Jesus next to Neymar. That he's going far in the World Cup.
It could be
Done
the
deal.
remember 98, and then 20 years later it was 2018. France won both, and then 2002 France won.
Ooh.
Brazil won, and then 20 years later it could be the Brazil double again.
There you go. I never thought of it like that. Okay.
I haven't got one ready, but there's a couple of these in the chat. See if you boys can figure them out. It's guess the player from the emojis.
Fred.
Oh,
I'm going with Fred too. That one's pretty obvious, but this is a bit trickier.
Key run, T leg.
I haven't heard
So
of
these
him,
4
but,
different players, or
who's he play for?
these...
Kieran. No, I'm sure it's just one. No,
Yeah,
no one's got
What is
anything there. It's a leg, I think.
yeah, I don't know. I can't see this.
Is that a bowl of
Adamo's,
rice?
mate, stop making us jealous, mate. Stop showing off your hairline in the camera. Not all of us have hair.
Oh, sorry, boys. Get my big melon out of the way.
All right, let's have a look at this one. Oh, Ivan Toney.
Ivan
That one is-
Toney, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
N'Golo Kante.
N'Golo, yeah. Can he or can't he? That's right.
Yeah,
Go back to I
beautiful.
want to know the answer on the other one.
It's
Yeah, what was
Tierney.
the other one?
Oh,
Kieran Tierney.
Kieran
Oh, okay.
Tierney. Yeah,
Kieran
okay.
Tierney.
Yeah.
T-Ren. T.
Oh,
very
yep.
good.
Yeah, okay.
T and
Mate, this is
yeah,
like the
yeah,
old
that
show
was-
catchphrase. It's like,
That
the
was
old-
good.
That's it.
Was a good show.
RJ.
Very good. Yeah, just a couple of player-based questions. So it's you'll say 2 players, and you'll have to pick the one you prefer. So
Ooh, I like this.
Haaland, Mbappe.
Haaland.
Adamo?
Mbappe.
Robbie?
Just.
Like, I've always been on the Mbappe train as well, but it's hard. Again, for me, they're not the same player. Then one's
I'm just going to read the
rules.
rules of Quickfire.
Mbappe.
No explanations.
I'm going with Adamo. Mbappe, I still prefer him on my team. Funny enough. Yep.
News headline, Rob hates Haaland, doesn't rate him. Very good. Excellent. So I'll obviously pick Raheem Sterling. Great answer. Excellent. Great one. Next one I will say is Messi and Ronaldo. This is obviously the one we always like to say. I know what the two boys will say. Adamo, this is squarely for you, my man, because I know what the other two are going to say Ronaldo. So just want to hear your...
You know what? Believe it or not, boys, I'm a big Ronaldo fan.
Good.
Him at Real Madrid, I love me some Ronnie. Messi, great player, but for me, the GOAT, it's Cristiano Ronaldo.
Fair call.
Welcome back anytime.
That's it. I'm loving what he's doing this season. He's on fire. Just kidding. But yeah, that's all for my one. And there's just a show that you're watching right now that you'd recommend. This is for you, Adamo, again.
Oh, well, I'm watching House of Dragon at the moment, which is
what a show.
You know, I think the whole world is watching that. But what I strongly recommend to do, which was what I'm about to do, is rewatching Game of Thrones. So you don't worry about.
You're welcome back on, mate. You're welcome.
That was rubbish, but you rewatch it all the way up until season 7. So that's what I'll be doing.
Very good.
Adamo, I want to chuck one at you, mate.
To chuck my Scott hat on, there's no shows at the moment. I feel like I've watched
Cobra
every
Kai.
show.
Cobra Kai, mate.
Cobra Kai is good, yeah. You know what? Cobra Kai is good, but even that's getting like it's going.
Sweet, you two say Robin RG say the same shows every week. It's House of the Dragon and Cobra Kai. Like,
how can it be every week when it just started?
You guys talked about it last week as well. Adamo, I want to ask you quickly because obviously, you do some good stuff on the B Team podcast. It's always a good listen. And look, while we talk football primarily, we're all lovers of sport. Besides F1 because it's not a sport.
F1,
but you obviously talk about a lot of sport. Is there a particular sport that you don't really enjoy talking about, but you have to do it for the pod? And B, out of every code, if you had to pick one team that really winds you up, could be a footy team, football, whatever, which team winds you up most?
Oh, okay. You know what, Scott? First of all, I think if there's one sport I don't enjoy speaking about. Sorry, it was the one you just said isn't a sport. F1 is probably the only sport. I'm like you boys. I'm a lover.
Don't
of all
tell the
sports.
lockout code.
You don't want me on the show again. But like you guys, I'm a lover of all sports. I love football. I've done a lot of work in football, but I'm of the opinion that all sport is great, and there's a place for all sport. Like I love Australian codes. I love American sports. One team that winds me up, Scott, to answer your question, South Sydney, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm a Roosters fan. So there isn't a more annoying... And you know what? I actually like the players. I love Latrell Mitchell, even though he left the Roosters. I like Cam Murray, went to my school. I like their team. It's just a fan base. Oh, they're like... Get everything you hate about every fan base and put them into one. That's what I would be. They'd be the equivalent of Liverpool United, all the big four, just you merge them all together on steroids. That's what they'd be. South Sydney fans are the worst.
Yep. Good shout. Good shout.
It's like asking who's the grubbier player, Jared Warrior-Hargraves or Cody Walker. It's just an impossible decision to answer a question.
It also depends what side of the fence you sit on.
Exactly. Very good. Very good. Nah, awesome question. Just to wrap things up, Adamo, just because for those that are sleeping under the rock and don't catch all of the great work you do, can you just shed just very quickly some of the great work you do at I Want It Yesterday, and just tell us some of the career highlights to date, and maybe just wrap it up with where do you look to success over the next few years for yourself?
Okay. All right. Well, I'll get started with, I've got a weekly show on BN Sports that I do with my childhood friend, my best mate, Claudio. So we wrap up all the BN leagues, which Serie A, Bundesliga, Liga, Championship. So BN's got so much football, and their goal is to basically just show young kids there, and it's an amazing league, the Premier League, but there's so much other football. And our job is, as young guys, relatively young, I'm getting a bit old, but, to appeal to that younger audience and show them that there's more football out there, like the Serie A, the Bundesliga. These are leagues with so much history and amazing fans. So it's our job telling that. We try and do it every week. So we've been going on now our 3rd season doing that. That's every Friday and Saturday, if you guys want to catch that. And then I also do a podcast with You guys might remember him as the TikTok guy, Bernard, and that's just talking
He's good.
everything really with a focus on rugby league because Bernard played it at a good level and I love it. So we try and talk everything, and that's been awesome as well because you guys are podcast veterans, but I do a 30-minute show and that's just very bah, 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 and I love it. But I almost found that when I pivoted over to podcasts, I was doing the RJ role, I was the 6. It was tough. I was like, this is a different pace, It's sometimes it's an hour long, so that's been a really good learning experience for me. And career highlight, I got to interview Ruud Gullit. So for our show, we had
brilliant work.
Yeah, we had an El Clasico special. Claudio had Arsene Wenger, and I got Ruud Gullit, which
you got
was
the better
amazing
one, much better one. Well done. Congratulations.
Arsene Wenger, man, what a dream.
I know. It was amazing on so many levels because I grew up on stories of Ruud Gullit. And then to tell you a quick story, I know we're going to wrap this up. We get on there. It was about 9 o'clock at night. And it was big. Ruud Gullit, we want to get there. We want to get there on time. We're a bit fat. We got that Italian standard time. We're always 15 minutes late. We're like, no, we're going to be there 15 minutes early because it's Ruud Gullit. Talking about a Ballon d'Or winner here. We jump on when you go on a Zoom and you can see people waiting in the room. So we get there 15 minutes before and we see that Ruud's already waiting. I'm like, oh no. We get on there, Ruud, finally, he's pissed. We're like, oh no. What has happened is someone's from Bean who's like been the liaison for us, told him an hour before. So poor old Ruud's been waiting in here for half an hour. I check my phone, it's blown up with messages. Hey, Damo, there's been a mix-up, blah, blah, blah. Can you get on now? Ruud's pissed, this. So I'm in my head thinking, oh my God, this is the biggest interview I've ever had. And the guys are going to hate me. Then once we started, loosening him up a bit, he started going, you're from Australia, blah, blah, blah. It ended up going from him being super on edge. He started talking about how scared he is of all of Australia's animals and sharks and how you'll never see him on a surfboard. We ended up spending about 10 minutes talking about Australia and he could not stop talking. So that was definitely a career highlight. We ended up having an amazing chat. It was great.
Oh, it's awesome. This is the stuff we love to see. And Claude is another great friend of the show as well. We've had a lot of the I Want It Yesterday crew on here, and we hope to continue that. So they do some fantastic work.
It's like a La Masia. It keeps producing them.
We only have the best on this show, Adamo, and you are certainly one of them to add to the illustrious pipeline of fantastic guests. And speaking of fantastic guests and contributors, the live chat's been buzzing. We've had some great contributions. The discussions, we actually thought that this was going to be quite a streamlined episode, but once you unpack and go into some of the nuts and bolts, it ends up stretching much past what we expected. But on behalf of the crew, Adamo, again, we just want to say a sincere, heartfelt thank you for taking the time out, because we know you're a busy man, but we love your energy, we love your buzz. Some of your football takes and your clubs you support, not so much, but in all seriousness, mate, really grateful to have you on the show.
Boys, thank you so much for having me on anytime. And for all you Liverpool fans out there, just remember, we're never bad. We're always just waiting to be good again. Okay, so I'll be on anytime, boys.
Make Liverpool great again. You heard it there from Adamo.
That's it.
Rob, Scott, any final words before we wrap this bad boy up?
No, mate, just a massive thanks to Adamo for coming on, man. Always a pleasure to chat with the crew over there. So smashing it.
Oh, thank you. Anytime.
100%. The boys wrapped it up, and I'll just throw my 2 cents again. Thank you very much. Every time we get another guest, we're like, are they going to be as good? Are they going to be as friendly, mate? You guys just keep delivering every time. So thank you again.
Anytime, boys. Mate. Thank you.
Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care and stay safe.
Ciao.